everybody. Greetings from the county line. Last month was February, November. We had a couple of holidays that we celebrated. Thanksgiving, of course, and people got together and expressed their gratitude for things that were important to them. And I was curious about what these things were this Thanksgiving. So somebody actually did a survey and determined that people are grateful for our basic needs, for God, of course, who gives us everything, for their financial circumstances, achievements, fun experiences, or opportunities. I was surprised to find out that not very many people were grateful for the freedom and the prosperity that we enjoy as Americans, nor were very many people expressing gratitude for the men and women in uniform who defend freedom and democracy around the world in our behalf. So I've been thinking about this for a while. We did away with the draft in 1973, and since then there's been a creeping divide, I think, between our citizens and our military. And just a couple of quick headlines here. The first was actually from Newsweek, reported recently that after 20 years of forever wars, America is more alienated from its military than ever. The nation venerates the military, but doesn't really understand what it does. So, as you know, if you've been following us this summer, we've come into town from the county line to find some major dudes, people who can tell us what's really happening in the world beyond the social media clutter. And with me today, who agreed to sit down and inform me, is Sergeant First Class Tetrault and Staff Sergeant Optoff of the United States Army. And it's an honor, guys.
Oh, of course.
I want to say this sincerely. Thank you for your service. I'm not sure a lot of people understand what is involved with that anymore, and I hope to be able to clear that up. So let's start with you, Sergeant Tetrault, since you've got the majority of stripes at the table here, and tell us something about yourself.
So my name's Sergeant First Class Tetrault. So I'm originally from Cranston, Rhode Island. I joined the Army in 2011. After about 2 years of college, I just didn't really want to do school anymore, and I was like, I always wanted to be in the Army. So I walked into my recruiting station and I just kind of told the recruiter, hey, I want to jump out of airplanes. And the rest is history. I'm going on 14 years. I've been stationed in Germany, Florida, Texas, here. The Army's given me a lot. I enjoy my time in the Army. I have 2 combat deployments and then 5 or 6 various other deployments around the world in my short 13 years, so I've been gone a lot. But yes, the Army's given me a lot, and I love it for that.
You're assigned to the Kokomo recruiting office right now, but that's just a kind of a temporary gig for you.
Yes, so I got to the point in my career where I needed to broaden my horizons as a soldier, and the Army kind of said, hey, you're going to go be a recruiter, and I was like, okay, I guess, I was never really the most social person. I always kind of like to keep to myself. I guess I'm going to go talk to people for a living, and I've been doing this for the last 2.5 years. I'm getting ready to leave here in April, May time frame, going back to, the regular Army. And but I will say, I didn't want to come do recruiting. I left my unit kicking and screaming, but I've definitely developed as a professional doing this job. I've learned a lot. I've got to work with different various jobs, because, and he'll talk about it in a second, me and him have 2 different jobs. So I've really gotten to kind of learn a lot that I'll take back to the regular Army with me.
What is your primary job?
I am a chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear specialist, or CBRN for short. I handle anything in that realm that has to deal with protection, mitigation, disablement, decontamination. I make sure the force, if they are hit with any kind of chemical or biological weapon, that I can protect them and make sure that they're safe from that hazard.
Now, I see you're wearing paratrooper wings.
Yes.
So do you get folded into a other infantry unit, for example, to do your regular job as a paratrooper?
Yes. So my first unit was the 173rd Airborne. It's the best airborne unit in the Army. So I was stationed in Germany, and I was in a cavalry troop as their chemical specialist. And then I spent about 4 years there, and after I went to Destin, Florida, and I was part of 7th Special Forces Group, where I was part of the chemical recon detachment. Essentially, I would attach to an ODA or a Special Forces team, and make sure that make sure they had no issues as far as chemical, biological weapons, or I would help them go on, missions to take care of, like, if the enemy had any kind of chemical weapons. So
Special Forces are kind of the elite of the Army, aren't they?
Yeah, no, I loved my time there. It was some of my best times in the Army. I really did enjoy it. A lot of my really good friends still to this day they're Green Berets. It's one of those jobs where I did have to do a tryout, and if you didn't, even if you weren't good at your job, you were kind of cut loose. So I guess I did all right for myself.
How about you?
I am Staff Sergeant Optoff. I've been in the Army for 9 years now, just over. My story initially started when the Army recruiter called the home phone, if anybody remembers having one of those. And he asked for myself, said that's me, came down to the office, took a practice test, took the ASVAB, came back. He said, you did really good, you can do whatever you want. And I said verbatim, don't put me behind a desk, which ironically, as a recruiter here in Kokomo, that's where I'm at. But like he said, it's a temporary gig. He showed me a video of airborne infantry, and it sounded good, so I said, let's do that. I enlisted my senior year, waited until the following summer, shipped out for basic training, did all of that down in Georgia, airborne school down in Georgia, and then I ended up at what is now called Fort Liberty with the 82nd, center of the universe for the Army, the real airborne unit. And then during my tenure there, I held just about every position in a light infantry platoon. And during my time there, I deployed for 9 months to the Afghanistan area. Got just the one deployment, not as many as Sergeant Terrell here, but did that, came back, a little more infantry time, and then the Army said it's time to be a recruiter. So here I am.
9 years. So you guys are obviously very fit and trim and look great in your uniforms, but other than that, you're just average guys for the most part. What's it like to be part of the most powerful Army in the world?
It's a job at the end of the day, right? Here it's 9 to 5, but in the regular Army, you do PT in the morning at 6:30. I know it sounds scary waking up that early, but it's not that bad. You get paid to work out. It's pretty nice. And then during the duty day, 9 to 5, you have an hour and a half in the middle of the day for lunch, so 11:30 to 1. At the end of the day, you go home, whether you live in the barracks, whether you live on post in the on-post housing, or you live off-post. And we have weekends off. I like to hang out with my family, so yeah, I watch sports, I play video games, I take this uniform off, and I can wear whatever I want.
Did either of you ever have a moment, though, where it dawned on you that, my God, I am part of something fantastic here, something that's way bigger than me?
For me, a lot of those happened more so during like field events or when I was deployed. Generally speaking, like when you're doing it every day, for the most part, like he said, it's It's just a job. You got good bosses, you got bad bosses. You have good days, you have bad days, whatever it is. At the end of the day, I'm still getting paid though. Beyond that, like the real realization is when you get to do some of the really cool stuff with the Army. Like machine gun ranges have always been my favorite. The 240 is my baby. And so it's getting to lay down some hate, and especially in the middle of the night when you've got tracers going off, and just, it's a heck of a show, honestly. And it's those moments when like you really realize how big it is and just how fun it can be.
You know, I think by my experience, some people are deterred from walking into a recruiting station because they are afraid it's going to be a lot of yelling and push-ups and sleeping in the dirt and bad food.
So,
Are any of those perceptions correct?
situation dependent. There's a phrase in the Army called a MET-TC, which essentially means situation dependent. It entirely depends on the job that you pick.
Yeah.
So infantry, like myself, yeah, I sleep in the dirt, I play in the woods.
But at
and
the end
then-
of the day, you still go home and you have
Yep.
a home. But
And then there's also a variety of other jobs as far as like opportunities go for the Army. We're considered entirely self-sufficient. So unless you want to be a nail tech, tattoo artist, or you want to work with hair, we've probably got a job for you. It ranges anywhere from like nursing to plumbing to firefighters, police, construction, then a vast variety of other things.
I've met plenty of people in the Army who can cut hair, do tattoos, and you know, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, all that fun stuff.
It's just like a hobby.
It's a cross-section of America.
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people when they come in, you know, if you take everyone out of Kokomo and put the whole entire Army in Kokomo, Kokomo could still run as a city. You know, we have, you know, like Sergeant Optoff said, we have everything and anything you can ever think of. There were jobs that I didn't even know the Army had before I became a recruiter. Like I had no idea we had plumbers. I've never seen an Army plumber until I put one in.
Somebody's got to do that, right?
Yeah, no, we have everything. So, and a lot of this, and all of the stuff that you do in the Army, whether it be a trade, construction, you know, even myself, it transfers over to the civilian side. So, like for me, I am fully hazmat qualified. So I could essentially get out of the Army and go to a fire station, and I'm already probably more qualified than a lot of the new firefighters.
Sure.
So yeah, it really, if you're not looking for a career in the, well, let me rephrase that. If you're not looking to do 20 years in the Army and you just want something to kind of kickstart your life, it's definitely something to think about because you're gonna get a lot of training for free.
And also, you know, a lot of people seem to start college with an idea about what they want to do with the rest of their life. And I hear all the time about freshmen changing their majors midterm, sometimes 2 or 3 times before they're able to graduate. You can give people real life experience in these jobs that they think they might want to do or be very qualified to do. And once they've done them for a while, decide, yeah, I want to do something else. So if I joined the Army and had the aptitude to become a plumber and I decided that at some point I wanted to drive a tank instead, is that something that's doable?
So when you join the Army, you pick your initial contract. The nice thing about joining the Army is after you take the ASVAB, Armed Services Vocational Aptitude and Battery, which is the test to qualify you for everything. Once you take that, we can actually see every job that you qualify for. So you pick your job with us before you even go down to go do the physical and get physically qualified and then enlist. Beyond that, though, within 12 months of the end of your contract that you're in, you have the option to re-enlist and like extend your contract or time with the Army for one of 3 options. You can either enlist for a duty station of choice, so you can change what base you're at. So it's like, hey, I don't like Fort Liberty, I want to go to Fort Cavazos. So you can re-enlist to do that. You can also re-enlist for a school of choice. Say that you didn't get one with your initial contract, then you can enlist and be like, I want to go jump out of airplanes or I want to rappel out of helicopters. So you can go do that. Beyond that, the third option is you can re-enlist to change your job. There's some minor stipulations which may occur, but outside of that, generally speaking, you can just change your job at the end of your contract.
And do something else if there's an opening in that field at the time.
That would be the stipulation, is that not to get into semantics, but you can't change from like an understrength job into an overstrength job. So if we have too many people in this job, you can't come from this job where we don't have as many.
You guys were explaining to me before we got started today that the Army is the biggest branch of our armed forces.
Yes, we are.
And that everything, the plumbers, the car mechanics, everybody is geared towards supporting your infantry.
Yes.
All part of a great team.
Yep. No,
So you say it's an everyday job,
Yeah,
but
no.
really it's not. It's part of a tremendous team with a lot of moving parts who all come together
Yeah.
to support a guy with a rifle who's pissed off down on the ground someplace. Is that pretty accurate?
yeah. I mean, you know, so you go to basic training, everyone's basic training is the same. His basic training was the exact same as mine. But after that, when you go to your AIT, your advanced individual training, this is where you learn your job, that's where your training becomes different. And yes, at the end of the day, every job supports the combat MOSs. So your infantry, your tankers, your cavalry, field artillery, special forces, everything's driven to support them. That is the main purpose of the United States Army is to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States and, the people of the United States. Whether it be, it's always in another,
And obviously,
country.
with that much at stake, you have to train to do those jobs pretty well every day, right?
I mean, if you, and it's like we would go. Honestly, me being in the units I've been in, we would go to the fields once a month, maybe. We'd go to ranges. Because at the end of the day, everyone's a soldier. Everyone still has to be able to fire a rifle. Everyone still has to, they have to do basic soldering tasks. Just your day-to-day job might be different.
Like he said with the once a month thing, even like in a combat job, generally speaking, it is once a month. It's like your time away from home. Yeah, I might be gone Tuesday through Thursday. I got 3 days in the field where I'm sleeping in my tent or whatever it is that I got for those 3 days. But outside of that once a month training to where we're actually going to the field, it's office work. Not specifically like behind a desk or like doing paperwork or anything, but like we'll do classes to make sure that everybody stays fresh on the skills that we have. Or we'll run through like different drills and stuff to practice what we do when we're in the field to make sure that we maintain our proficiency.
Well, you've been here 3 years, and from what I've been able to pick up in the media, recruiting is a difficult job nowadays. I mean, apparently there was a swell after 9/11,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody was pretty much able to fill their numbers, and then since then there's been a steady decline in the number of people who are interested in serving our country. Why is that? What's going on?
I don't, so I did join. Part of the reason why I joined was, my grandfather served in the military. He was a merchant marine in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
So I always found that fascinating. And, growing up, I always found, the history behind wars fascinating. And when I was 11, I watched Band of Brothers for the first time. And I was like, that's what I want to do. That's why I wanted to jump out of airplanes. And then, later that year, 9/11 happened. So I was older. I was in 6th grade. So that was another reason why I wanted to. But, a lot of the, especially kids now, they weren't alive. I mean, I went to Kokomo High School the other day, and I was in history books. Like, that wasn't a thing when I was in, school. So, but I wouldn't say, there's a lack of want.
Okay.
It's just, we just, gotta spread the good things about the Army, because what a lot of people see is what you know,
It's the movies.
movies show and, you know, stuff like that. But it's a very small portion of the Army, right?
Prior to bringing back the Army slogan of "Be all you can be," for a while our saying was "Know your Army," because the Army realized that was a huge issue with actually getting people to come in and like be interested in joining. Most people don't know that we offer as many jobs as we do. They don't know that we're as diversified as we are. From my experience, especially the questions that we get from some of the high school kids that we go in and visit and everything, they think it's all just combat jobs. It's the big cannons, it's the guns, the machine guns, it's war, it's holes in the ground, sleeping in the dirt.
Yeah, Wounded Warrior
Yeah,
commercials
and
this time of year.
And that's not all it is. We already listed like a handful of jobs. There's so many jobs beyond just the combat. And I think it's a lack of knowledge that really prevents people from being interested in the military.
You'd be surprised. We'll go to classrooms or we'll go to events and we'll just say, hey, you know, we got this, we got that. And their ears kind of perk up like, you'll pay for this? I'm like, yeah, we'll pay for your college too. But it's just, you don't, it's like anything. You don't know about something until you're taught, right? So
Sure.
it's our jobs to teach the general population about what we have to offer. Now, if we have someone come in and they said, I want to be an infantryman, I got you. That's what you want to do. We'll help you out. And, you know, we had other people come in like, hey, you know, I want to be I want to do construction, you know, or I want to do welding. Hobart's too expensive. Can you help me? Yeah, we have a job that teaches you welding, not only welding, but heavy machinery. Mm-hmm. And you can get out of the Army after your contract and you can do it on the civilian side. You don't have to go through schools. The Army takes care of all of it.
Are we out of time? Have you guys got any close? I got a million questions I didn't have a chance to ask you. But is there anything that you'd like to add before we wrap up?
No, I mean, you know, this is the best decision I ever made. It's what you make of it. You know, if you join the Army and you have a negative attitude, you're not going to like it. But if you know, they tell us to hunt the little things, so, you know, take it a day at a time, and you're going to meet a lot of friends. All of my friends are in the Army now. I have very few friends from back home. And a lot of those guys they're like brothers to me. So it's the greatest organization I've ever been a part of. I wouldn't change anything I've done. Yeah.
My 2 key points to leave everything off with. One would be college. Like everybody knows that we pay for it, but the nice thing is that you can attend while you're in. I've been working on my bachelor's degree since I got here, and I've got 9 classes left. It's all been free.
Congratulations.
I haven't had to pay a dime for it. Army's paid for all of it.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
When people are complaining about student loans
And I haven't even touched my GI Bill, so I can still get out, and I still have 36 academic months paid for by the Army.
Fantastic.
Beyond that, coming in and meeting with us to get information beyond just what we've discussed here doesn't mean that somebody has to join.
Yeah.
We are here as recruiters to inform and facilitate. We ourselves cannot put someone in the Army. Any paperwork you sign on here does not mean that you're joining. It means that you're attempting to if you sign anything, but outside of that, you can come in. You don't have to sign anything. Just get the information to make an educated decision.
Wonderful. Well, you mentioned slogans. I got to ask you about this because it annoyed me a few years ago when you guys had a slogan, Army of One.
I don't even remember that one.
All right, do you?
Yeah.
What the hell was that all about?
It shows the teamwork.
One
in the
team, one
Army.
fight.
One team, one fight. You know, no matter what your job is, no matter.
Okay,
your
it wasn't
age.
about being an individual.
No,
and,
it was no matter what you do in the Army, you're all a team.
Whew, okay.
We've all got the same goal.
Yep.
Okay, good news.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Sergeant Tetrault and Sergeant Optoff, again, thank you for your service.
course.
I hope we've been able to enlighten our public a little bit about what it is you do and why you're here, and I wish you luck with your success and you with your new assignment.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, everybody, that's it for the United States Army this week. next week we'll be back and talk to somebody else about opportunities in the armed forces. Until then, Merry Christmas and God bless you.